Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. If you've been following along with me, we have been making some bows, and today we're actually going to make the magic happen. We're going to start with something like this, which is the rough shape and floor tiller bow that we ended up with last time, and we're going to end with something like this. So I took the smallest of the bows and I went through the whole tillering process and ended up with a functional bow that actually works. Now, full disclosure, this was the first one I had made, and it was kind of a practice bow. There were some things that I'm definitely going to do differently, and unfortunately I did rush the process a little bit and I had a little tiny crack in here, so time will tell if that's going to blow out on me, but again, this is only a 15-pound bow, so hopefully it can still be used. But again, this was really just for me to kind of learn the process, and I will take you guys through the process and hopefully we'll end up with another bow that's even better than this one. So just an update on a few steps that I took from the last video to this one before we start the actual tillering process. We did have to cut in a couple grooves for the strings to go. So all I did was take a chainsaw file. I believe this is a 5/32, and you can get them pretty cheap in all different sizes. And at a 45-degree angle, you're essentially just carving a groove into either end of the bow on both sides. Just tapered the handle here, so when we start removing material from the belly of the bow, this taper is going to make it really easy to have a smooth transition with whatever tool you have versus having the squared handle that we had on there before. The only other cosmetic difference that I made was the bottom of the bow is rounded and the top of the bow just has kind of like a rounded point. This is really just to make it easy to tell the difference between the two. Now for the tillering process, you don't really need that many tools. As a matter of fact, you can use a lot of different tools, really whatever is at your disposal. You can use sandpaper or an orbital sander, files, a cabinet scraper, a hand plane, but for me, honestly, by and large, the best tool for me to use was this spoke shave. It cuts really cleanly, leaves you with really smooth finish, and you can adjust it so you can remove a big amount of material, or you can take really, really light shavings. And because it has such a small, flat sole on the bottom here, it follows the gentle curve of the bow really well. For the other bow, I used the sandpaper, the cabinet scraper, and the spoke shave, depending on how much material I wanted to remove. The only other things you'll need is something to mark with. This lets you know what parts of the bow to remove, and to further that, I use this little guy, this tillering tool, and it's super simple. It's just a 6-inch block of wood that has a 5/16 nut embedded in the middle there, and you literally just screw this pencil into it, which allows you to adjust the depth of the pencil. But that's basically all you need for the rest of this process. For those of you that saw my last video, you'll remember that I briefly talked about this tillering stick. So the entire purpose of this guy is to help you define the shape of the bow evenly. It's to help you set your draw length at whatever number you have. So I've got these marked at inch increments based off of the top of this bow here. So for this bow, my goal is to be able to get it all the way down to 27. This also allows you to measure the draw weight of the bow as you're pulling. I have a pulley on the bottom. I've got a rope going all the way down, and that's attached to a luggage scale. So as I pull this up, not only can I tell the draw length that I'm doing, but I can also tell the draw weight at a specific draw length. Now, where this little tillering tool comes in handy is as you start to shape the bow. It's not as prominent now because it's still very flat, but as the bow takes on more of a curve, only certain areas will be able to make contact with the pencil point because you have these two flat spots here. So what that allows you to do is to very, very carefully gauge what spots need to have wood removed and what spots don't. Alright, well, enough talking, let's get down to it. I'm just going to start off by removing some material on both sides because the bow is still really flat. I'm just going to try and even up the cut off the bandsaw, give myself a nice flat reference, and then start working from there. So after about maybe half an hour, 40 minutes of tillering, I've been able to get this guy all the way down to the 27-inch draw length point. Now, just from me pulling on there, I can tell that it's still way too stiff. That was way more than 25 pounds of pressure, so I'm not even going to bother measuring it with the scale right now. To keep tillering, something you want to keep in mind is adjusting the length of the tillering string. When I first started this, the overall length was about 3 inches beyond the end of the bow, and every time that I reach my desired draw length, which in this case is 27, I'll go back and I'll shorten this string by about 1 inch. Now eventually, after doing that a few times, you're going to shorten it enough that the tillering string is going to be the same length as your actual bowstring. At that point, you want to switch to using the bowstring because that's going to put the real life stresses on the bow that it's going to see throughout its day-to-day use. All right, 33 pounds. Getting better. We've still got a little ways to go, but now we can switch to the real string. 32.86, 30.64, 28.16, 26.32, 25.46. Not bad. So I'm actually going to stop here because I think that's pretty good. I still have some sanding to do just to clean up some of the marks from the spoke shave. So I think between the sanding and the little touch-up work, it'll probably get it a little bit closer to 25 pounds. But that seems perfect. It feels great. The bow is bending really evenly. So I think we're going to go with that. Whew, what a process. That was intense, but definitely well worth it. Just to keep you guys up to date here on what we got, I've got the little baby bow that I first did. This one's pretty much all done, just need to put some finish on it. But there were definitely some lessons I learned making this one, so I'm glad I had this as kind of like a practice. Here on Mach 2, which is the one I've been working on in this video, much better. All said and done, probably spent about 5, maybe 6 hours on the tillering process, but totally worth it. It really pays off to take your time with this process. The limbs on this are super smooth and even. There's no kinks or hinges or anything like that. I've got it set to about 25 pounds at a 27-inch draw length, which is just about my draw length, and it feels really good. I did take it out for about a shot or two just to test it out. And don't worry, nothing official. I will make sure to video the first real shots. But I just wanted to make sure that it was working well and it shoots really smoothly. I'm super excited to finish this guy up. The only thing left on this is just some final sanding to take off these lines here and some other marks to do the final shaping on the handle. I might even do a leather wrap on that and then put some finish on it and it's all done. So the last bow we've got here is the rawhide bow, and that has to go through the same thing, the whole tillering process, the sanding, the shaping, and then we can put finish on that as well. So I hope you guys have been enjoying these videos. I have been loving this process. It has been such a cool experience and I'm glad to share it with you guys. If you have any questions at all, or you have something to tell me about bow making, I'm not a pro at this by any means, so feel free to reach out to me at any time. And stay tuned, there's more to come. Thanks.